Listen, I have seen a lot of strange things in my 300 cycles of existence. I have witnessed stars collapse, civilizations rise and fall, and politicians actually keep their promises. That last one only happened once, and we are still not sure if it was a glitch in the simulation. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for what I saw that day in the Galactic Combat Academy. My name is Vrix, and I am what you humans would call a documentary recorder. I float around the galaxy with my holocam, capturing moments of significance for the Universal Archives. Sounds fancy, right? Well, mostly I film bureaucratic meetings and graduation ceremonies. Thrilling stuff. But that particular afternoon? That afternoon changed everything. The Galactic Combat Academy sits on the moon of Terthos Prime, a massive structure that looks like someone took a crystal and a fortress, threw them in a blender, and hit puree. It is where the best of the best come to train. Warriors from every corner of the galaxy. Mantoids with their 4 arms. Plasma beings who can shift through solid matter. Rock giants who can literally eat starships. And then there was her. Kira Solen. Human. Now, before you get all defensive, let me explain something. Humans were new to the galactic scene. Like really new. Most species had been spacefaring for millennia. Humans? They showed up about 50 cycles ago, acting like they owned the place. Charming. Really, but also absolutely terrifying because nobody knew what to expect from them. Kira was part of the first human class admitted to the academy. 20 students. 19 of them were already making waves. Marcus Holt could manipulate gravitational fields. Lisa Tran had reflexes so fast she could dodge plasma fire. Lisa Tran had reflexes so fast she could dodge plasma fire. Lisa Tran had reflexes so fast she could dodge plasma fire. Diego something or other, I forget his last name, had strength that rivaled the rock giants. And Kira? Kira had... well, nothing. No powers.
Oh.
No enhancements. No genetic modifications. Just a skinny girl with dark hair, pale skin, and eyes that looked like they had seen too much. She was 5'4", maybe 110 pounds, soaking wet. In an academy full of warriors who could level cities, she looked like someone's lost younger sister. The other students called her the Dud. Creative, right? I was there the day it happened. The final examination. Every student had to face the gauntlet, a combat simulation designed to push them to their absolute limits. It adapted to each fighter, learned their strengths, exploited their weaknesses. Pass it, and you graduated with honors. Kira's dead. Fail it, and you went home with your dignity in a very small box. The arena was packed, and when I say packed, I mean every seat was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Proud parents, scout recruiters, betting syndicates. Yeah, they bet on this stuff. I had 50 credits on Marcus Holt. Seemed like a safe bet. But Kira was scheduled to go last. Of course she was. I watched as student after student entered the arena. The gauntlet manifested different challenges for each one. Razor storms, gravity wells, sentient flames. Some students passed, some failed. All of them put on a show. Then it was her turn. The arena fell silent, and not the good kind of silent.
The awkward kind. The kind where everyone is thinking the same thing but nobody wants to say it out loud.
This is gonna be a disaster. Kira walked onto the arena floor, and I zoomed in with my holocam. She wore the standard Academy combat suit, matte black with energy shielding built into the weave. Her face was blank. No fear. No excitement. Just empty. Empty. Above the arena, the headmaster Torvik, a grizzled old Saurian with scales like tarnished silver, stood in his observation box. His voice boomed through the speakers. Kira Solen, human. You have reached the final examination. The gauntlet will test everything you have learned. Everything you are. There is no shame in failure, only in surrender. Do you understand? Kira nodded once. Then begin. The arena shimmered and the gauntlet activated. At first nothing happened. The floor remained smooth. The air remained still. Everyone leaned forward in their seats waiting. Then the ground erupted. Combat drones. 30 of them burst from hidden hatches. They were sleek, black, bristling with weapons. Plasma cannons. Blade arms. Neural disruptors. They moved fast, surrounding Kira in seconds. The crowd gasped. Someone behind me muttered, "This is going to be over in 10 seconds." They were wrong. Kira moved. I have watched countless fights. I have seen masters of combat do things that defy physics. But what Kira did, it was different. She did not have super speed. She was not enhanced, but she moved like she knew exactly where each drone would be before it got there. She dropped low as the first drone fired, the plasma bolt screaming over her head. She rolled left and 3 more drones fired at where she had been a millisecond before. She was already gone, twisting through the air like smoke. The drone swung a blade arm at her. She caught the blade between her palms, stopped it cold. Impossible. The blade could cut through starship hull plating. But there she was, holding it, her muscles trembling but not giving an inch. She twisted, and the drone spun, crashing into 2 others. "What is she doing?" someone shouted. I did not know. Nobody did. Kira grabbed a piece of debris from the fallen drone and hurled it, not at a drone.
At the arena wall.
The debris struck an energy conduit, and sparks exploded. The crowd murmured. That was not part of the test. She moved again, faster now. A drone fired a neural disruptor. It should have knocked her unconscious. Should have. Instead, she jerked to the side at the last possible instant, and the blast hit another drone behind her. It collapsed. Circuits fried. She was using them against each other. "Clever girl," I whispered. The gauntlet adapted. The remaining drones shifted tactics, attacking in coordinated waves. But Kira adapted faster. She grabbed a fallen blade arm and used it as a weapon, cutting through drone after drone with brutal efficiency. No wasted movement, no hesitation, just cold, calculated violence. Within 3 minutes, all 30 drones were scrap metal. The arena fell silent again. Kira stood in the center, breathing hard but still standing. Her combat suit was torn in places, blood trickling from a cut above her eyebrow. She looked up at Headmaster Torvik. "Is that it?" she asked. Her voice was steady, calm, like she had just finished a light jog. Torvik's eyes narrowed. He leaned forward, his claws tapping against the railing of his observation box. "Phase 2, he said. The arena shimmered again. This time, the walls themselves began to move. They shifted, morphed, creating a maze, and from the shadows of that maze came something worse than drones. A Vexar. The crowd gasped again, louder this time. Vexars are apex predators from the dead zones, 8 feet tall, covered in chitinous armor, with mandibles that can crush durasteel. They hunt by scent, by sound, by the electrical impulses of living things. You cannot hide from them. You cannot outrun them. Your only option is to fight, and most beings do not survive that fight. And the gauntlet had spawned one right in front of Kira. She did not run. She should have. Anyone with half a brain would have. But she just stood there watching as the Vexar prowled toward her, its mandibles clicking, its compound eyes fixed on her. "Move," I whispered, though she could not hear me. "Move, you idiot." She did not. The Vexar charged. It was fast. Impossibly fast. 1 second it was 20 feet away, the next it was on top of her, mandibles wide, ready to tear her apart. Kira dropped to the ground, flat on her back. The Vexar sailed over her, crashing into the maze wall. Before it could recover, she was moving again. She grabbed one of the broken drone blades from earlier, and ran, not away from the Vexar, but toward it. "Dell. She has lost her mind," someone in the crowd said. Maybe, or maybe she knew something we did not. The Vexar turned, snarling, and swung one of its massive claws. Kira ducked, slid under it, and drove the blade up into the soft joint between its chest plates. The Vexar shrieked. It thrashed, trying to shake her off, but Kira held on, twisting the blade deeper. Green blood sprayed across the arena floor. The Vexar stumbled, crashed to its knees, and finally collapsed. Kira pulled the blade free and stepped back, chest heaving. The crowd erupted. Cheers. Shouts. Disbelief. I was still recording, my manipulator tentacles trembling. This was insane. This was impossible. But it was not over. Headmaster Torvik stood, his expression unreadable. "Phase 3, he said. The arena shimmered one last time. And what appeared made my blood run cold. A holographic projection of Torvik himself, 20 feet tall, wreathed in flame and shadow. The gauntlet's final test. Face your greatest fear. Face your master. Kira looked up at the projection. For the first time I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear, not exactly, but something, The projection spoke, its voice booming. You are weak, you are nothing, you do not belong here. You will never belong here. The words echoed through the arena. Kira clenched her fists. You are right, she said softly. The projection tilted its head. I am weak, Kira continued. I do not have powers, I do not have enhancements. I am just human. She raised her head, and her eyes burned with something fierce. But you know what humans have? We have spite. We have stubbornness. We have the absolute refusal to quit even when the universe tells us we should. She picked up a piece of debris. And we have really good aim. She hurled it. Not at the projection, at the arena control panel embedded in the wall. The debris struck dead center. Sparks exploded. The holographic projection flickered, glitched, and vanished. The arena lights surged, then exploded in showers of glass and energy. Emergency systems screamed. The walls, reinforced with energy shielding, designed to contain planetary-level attacks, cracked. Then they shattered. Massive chunks of wall exploded outward, crashing into the stands. The crowd scrambled, panicking. Alarms blared. The entire structure groaned, threatening to collapse. And in the center of it all, Kira stood, calm as a summer breeze covered in dust and blood. She looked up at Headmaster Torvik, who was staring at her with something between horror and awe. Did I pass? She asked. So there I was, still recording, my holocam shaking in my tentacles, because the entire arena was literally falling apart around us. Chunks of reinforced wall the size of transport shuttles were crashing down. People were screaming. The emergency evacuation protocols were blaring so loud I thought my auditory sensors would rupture. And Kira? She just stood there, waiting for an answer. Headmaster Torvik gripped the railing of his observation box, which was now tilting at a very concerning angle. His scales had gone pale, which for a Sarian means he was either about to faint or murder someone. Maybe both. Lockdown, he roared into his communication device. Full facility lockdown. Now. Emergency shields slammed down over the remaining intact sections of the arena. Gravity anchors engaged, stabilizing the structure before it could collapse completely. The chaos began to settle, but the damage was done. Half the arena was destroyed. The other half looked like it had been through a war, because of one human girl. Security forces rushed onto the arena floor. Weapons drawn. Not the training weapons either. Real ones. The kind that could vaporize you before you finished your last thought. They surrounded Kira, forming a tight perimeter. She raised her hands slowly, still calm, still composed. Yo, composed. I will take that as a yes, she said. One of the security officers, a mantoid with 4 arms and an attitude problem, stepped forward. On your knees, human. Hands behind your head. Kira complied, kneeling in the rubble. Blood still dripped from the cut above her eyebrow. Her combat suit was shredded, but her eyes were sharp, alert, watching everything. I kept recording. This was either going to be the greatest documentary footage of my career, or evidence at a trial, possibly both. Torvik descended from his observation box using an emergency gravity lift. His claws clicked against the debris-covered floor as he approached Kira. The crowd, those who had not evacuated, watched in dead silence. He stopped 5 feet from her, towering over her kneeling form. Explain, he said. Just that one word. But the weight behind it could have crushed planets. Kira met his gaze without flinching. The gauntlet adapts to its opponent, correct? It learns. It evolves. It finds weaknesses. Yes. Then it would never let me win. Not fairly. Because my weakness is obvious. I have no powers. No enhancements. In a straight fight against anything the gauntlet could throw at me, I would lose. Every time. Torvik said nothing. Waiting. So I changed the fight, Kira continued. The gauntlet could not adapt to something outside its parameters. The control systems, the structural supports, the energy conduits, they were not part of the simulation. They were real, vulnerable. You destroyed Academy property, Torvik said, his voice dangerously quiet. I completed the objective. You said to pass the gauntlet, to prove what I am. I did that. By nearly killing hundreds of observers. The emergency protocols engaged in 0.7 seconds, well within safety margins. I calculated it. A ripple of murmurs spread through the remaining crowd. Calculated. She calculated a building collapse in the middle of combat. Torvik stared at her for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the damaged arena. You are either the most brilliant student I have ever seen or the most reckless. He paused. Possibly both. He turned to the security forces. Stand down. Release her. The mantoid officer looked incredulous. Sir, she destroyed half the arena. And in doing so, she exposed a critical flaw in our systems. A flaw that an enemy could exploit. She did us a favor. Torvik looked back at Kira. An expensive, destructive, absolutely infuriating favor, but a favor nonetheless. Kira stood slowly, brushing dust from her torn suit. Does that mean I passed? Torvik's expression hardened. It means you have created a very large problem for yourself, and for humanity's standing in this academy. And that was when things got really interesting. Over the next 3 days, the galaxy could not stop talking about what happened. The footage I captured went viral across every communication network. Billions of beings watched as a powerless human girl dismantled the gauntlet by literally tearing down the walls around it. Reactions were mixed. Some called her a genius, a revolutionary thinker who saw beyond conventional combat strategies. Others called her dangerous, reckless, a threat to established order. The human delegation was in full crisis mode.
Ambassador Wells, a nervous man who always looked like he was one bad meeting away from a heart attack, spent 72 hours in emergency sessions with the Galactic Council.
I know because I was there recording it. Bureaucracy is boring, but it pays the bills. Meanwhile, Kira was confined to her quarters under armed guard. Not arrested exactly, but not free either. The academy could not decide what to do with her. Her fellow human students were divided.
Some were angry. She made them all look bad.
Others were secretly thrilled. Someone finally stuck it to the establishment. Marcus Holt visited her once. I heard, they talked for 20 minutes. Nobody knows what was said. The alien students? They were terrified of her. This girl with no powers had done something. None of them could. She broke the unbreakable test. And she did it by thinking differently, by seeing angles nobody else considered. That scared them more than any display of raw power could. On the 4th day, Headmaster Torvik called a full assembly. Every student, every instructor, every administrative official, the repaired arena, now with significantly better structural reinforcements, was packed. Kira was escorted to the center of the floor. She looked tired. The cut above her eyebrow had healed, but there were dark circles under her eyes. 4 days of isolation and interrogation will do that to you. Torvik stood at the podium, his presence commanding absolute silence. 4 days ago, something unprecedented occurred within these walls. A student facing the final examination chose to destroy the examination itself rather than complete it through conventional means. He paused, letting his words sink in. Many have called for this student's expulsion. Some have demanded criminal charges. Others have suggested we ban all human students from the academy. I saw Kira's jaw tighten at that last part. I have considered all of these options, Torvik continued, and I have rejected them. All of them. Shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kira Solen did not break the rules of the gauntlet. There are no rules. The gauntlet is designed to push students beyond their limits, to force them to think, to adapt, to survive by any means necessary. That is exactly what she did. He looked directly at Kira. She saw a system designed to defeat her, and found its weakness. She used her environment as a weapon. She calculated risks in real time and executed a plan that, while destructive, achieved the objective. These are not the actions of a reckless fool. These are the actions of a warrior. These are the actions of a warrior. The arena was dead silent. Kira Solen, you have passed the final examination. You will graduate with your class. The crowd exploded, half cheering, half protesting. Arguments broke out in the stands. Security had to separate two groups who nearly came to blows. But Kira, whole, she just nodded once, her expression unchanged. Torvik raised a clawed hand, and the noise died down. However, he said, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. You will also serve 200 hours of community service repairing the damage you caused. Every single piece, by hand. Without tools. Kira blinked. By hand? You wanted to prove humans are strong? Prove it. 200 hours, starting tomorrow. A smile tugged at the corner of Kira's mouth, just a tiny one. Understood, Headmaster. Graduation came 2 weeks later. The ceremony was smaller than usual because half the arena was still under construction. Kira stood with her class, wearing the formal academy uniform. She looked uncomfortable in it, too clean, too proper. When her name was called, the reaction was mixed. Some applauded, some remained silent, but everyone watched as she walked across the stage to receive her certification crystal, the symbol of a fully trained academy graduate. Torvik handed it to her personally. "You have made history today," he said quietly, so only she could hear. But my holocam picked it up anyway. "Good audio equipment is worth the investment." "I just wanted to pass," Kira replied. "You did more than that. You changed how we think about strength, about power, about what it means to be a warrior." He paused. "The galaxy will not forget you, Kira Solen. Whether that is a blessing or a curse remains to be seen." Kira took the crystal, its surface glowing with soft blue light. "I can live with that." She walked off the stage and I followed her with my camera. She found a quiet corner outside the arena, away from the crowds and the celebrations. She sat on a bench overlooking the valleys of Turthos Prime, the twin suns setting in brilliant orange and purple. I floated over, my holocam still recording. "Mind if I ask you something?" I said. She glanced at me. "You have been following me for 2 weeks. Might as well. Why did you really do it? Destroy the arena? I mean, you could have surrendered, taken the failure, tried again later." Kira was quiet for a moment, watching the sun sink below the horizon. "Because they expected me to fail," she said finally. "Every alien in that arena, every instructor, every student, they looked at me and saw weakness, saw a human with no powers, no enhancements, nothing special. They thought I did not belong. And that made you angry?" "No." She shook her head. "It made me determined. Humans have a saying. When someone tells you that you cannot do something, you smile, nod, and then do it anyway just to watch their faces." I laughed at that. I could not help it. "You humans are strange," I said. "Yeah," she agreed. "We are. But we are also stubborn, creative, and really, really good at breaking things when we need to." She stood, stretching. The certification crystal caught the last rays of sunlight, glowing brighter. "The galaxy is going to have to get used to us," she said, "because we are not going anywhere, and we are definitely not going to play by rules designed to keep us down." She walked away, heading back toward the academy grounds. I watched her go, my holocam recording every step. That footage became the most viewed documentary in galactic history. Kira Solen, the human who broke the gauntlet, became a legend. Some feared her, some admired her, but everyone knew her name. And that was just the beginning. Because 3 months later, the Outer Rim Wars broke out, and guess who the Alliance called to lead the Special Operations Unit? That is right. Kira Solen. But that is another story. And trust me, it is even better than this one. Hork and me? I kept following her. Kept recording. Because I learned something important that day in the arena. Never underestimate a human, especially a human with something to prove. They will tear down the walls around them just to show you they can. And they will smile while doing it.